I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Weather Impact Team. What a day it has been today, as we have been tracking a very historic storm, Hurricane Melissa, making landfall earlier today around 1 o'clock this afternoon on the southwestern coast of Jamaica. It has been moving over Jamaica all day, and now the center of the storm is back out over water. Now, it's a historic storm because this is the strongest hurricane that has ever hit Jamaica, and also this storm ranks really high on the strongest of all time since records have been kept, and we're going to be talking about that coming up in just a little bit too. We're also going to be talking about our local forecast. This is an extended weather update where we'll be chatting for a while now about what's going on weather-wise here, but we are going to spend the first little bit of time here talking about Hurricane Melissa, as it is now back out over water, as it's crossed over Jamaica, and it has lost some strength. However, when I say that, when we talk about it being weaker, that doesn't mean that it's still a weak storm. It is still a Category 3, which is a major hurricane, and now that it's back over water, it could go back up to a Cat 4 before it makes another landfall over Cuba later on tonight. So here is what we're watching right now with the storm. This is Jamaica right here. Now I want you to notice here, as it was over the water earlier, it had a very distinct and almost perfectly symmetrical eye, which is indicative of just how strong it was. It moved over land, it lost that, and now we're beginning to see that eye reforming again over the water. Now, it moved in with winds of around 185 miles an hour around lunchtime. Then it went down to 145 miles an hour at the 5 o'clock update. And now at the 8 p.m. update that we got in from the National Hurricane Center, it's down to 125 miles an hour. So moving over land today, where it took away that fuel source, which is warm ocean waters, being over land and encountering some mountainous terrain there, really helped those wind speeds to come down. But remember, 125 mile an hour winds, that is still a Category 3, and that is still classified as a major hurricane. Now, even though the center of the storm now is over water up to the north here, we are still getting some strong winds, not as strong as they were earlier in Jamaica, but still some tropical storm force winds on the backside of this, and even in Ocho Rios right now, about 68 mile per hour winds. Black River, where we had that landfall earlier today, winds there now at about 32 miles an hour. Montego Bay has winds of about 37 miles an hour. You can see those winds will be dying down now. Here comes that next center of circulation for its next landfall. That will be later on tonight, most likely between midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning. And the main strongest winds are going to be in a narrow band right along here, which is going to be just a little bit to the west of Santiago de Cuba here. And then it's going to be moving over Cuba, still hopefully losing a little bit of strength there, and then emerging again back out over water. And when it does that, its next target will be the southeastern Bahamas. And again, we'll look at that on the track in just a moment. But here's what I'm talking about the historical storm that we have here. This is Melissa from 2025, from today. Look at the minimum pressure, 892 millibars. And the only other storms stronger than that were Gilbert in 1988 and Wilma of 2005. Now, we also tied with the unnamed Labor Day storm of 1935. That also had a minimum pressure of 892. And then we had Rita, Milton, Allen, Camille, Katrina, and Mitch and Dean were all in there as well, with still very low pressures too. So this is the tides for third place for the third strongest hurricane since records have been kept. Now, if you look at it as winds of 185 miles an hour, that tied it for second place as the strongest. So very historic storm here. Jamaica is going to, not only they had to deal with the storm today, but the aftermath of this storm and the rebuilding, getting power, getting water back to a lot of people is going to be a really tough thing. They're going to be really rebuilding there for a long time. So here's Jamaica. Here's the center of the storm here now in the middle of the evening hours here. And the next landfall, you see, this is at 11 o'clock tonight. It's going to be nearing this next landfall, going over Cuba, and then traveling over Cuba overnight, then going back out over water. And then here you see the southern Bahamas. Now, the Bahamas is not just one or two islands. It is an island chain of a lot of islands. So these islands are going to be impacted here from Duncantown up toward Clarencetown, near Pirates Well, as it's going to be most likely a Category 3 or 2 hurricane at that point when it goes over those areas, and that's during the day on Wednesday. Here's a look at the warnings that we have in effect. Jamaica still has a hurricane warning, even though it's pulling away. They most likely will drop this warning later tonight at 11 o'clock, but we have the hurricane warning in effect for the eastern parts of Cuba here, and there you see these southeastern Bahama Islands included in these warnings. Anagua is included. Now Turks and Caicos is right here. They have a tropical storm warning in effect, and Haiti also has a tropical storm warning in effect. It looks like the center of the storm is going to be far enough from Turks and Haiti that they will just be dealing with tropical storm force winds and not the strongest hurricane force winds. But it'll be these other islands here that are going to be dealing with that. So here is a look at this track. Again, a Cat 3 as it encountered land for a few hours here today and a mountainous terrain, which knocked it back down to 125-mile-an-hour winds as a Category 3. The forecast shows this most likely becoming a Category 4 again. Now, this data may be not taking into account how much the storm weakened. This is still based, even though this is an 8 o'clock update, the forecast track is still from 5 o'clock. So it may be a strong 3, or it could go back up to a Category 4 before this next landfall. Most likely between midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning. Then it's going to be encountering land again for a bit overnight and early in the morning before going back out over water, showing that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a Category 3 with winds of around 115 miles an hour moving over these southern Bahama Islands here, and then moving quickly up toward the north. And as it does, we'll be watching by overnight Thursday into Friday, potentially impacting Bermuda, where they have a hurricane watch in effect here for Bermuda, and then starting to quickly race up to the north before it loses any of its losing its tropical characteristics. So that is in a nutshell what we have going on with this storm, and it's going to be one that we'll be watching for days. But thank goodness it is not stalled out. It's not moving at 2 miles an hour anymore. It's moving north-northeast at about 8 miles an hour, and that motion, thank goodness, if it was moving slower, the damage would be even worse in those areas. So now let's talk about our local forecast, where we have another wave of rain that is going to be moving into our area during the day here on Wednesday. Really at any time during the day. It's not going to rain all day, but there will be off and on showers throughout the day here on Wednesday, and it's also going to be cold too, with temperatures still holding there in the 50s. So definitely you are going to need your jacket. You are going to need your rain gear as well, as it's going to be another one of those soggy, chilly days. Now, we just have some clouds over our area right now. We don't really have any rain, aside from a little bit of mist and drizzle is possible out there. You'll notice back into Alabama, though, we do have some of these lighter showers coming into northern Alabama. That stretches back into parts of Mississippi, and that goes back into Louisiana and also into Texas, where they, on this south part, have a tornado watch in effect. Now, we're not concerned about severe weather moving into our area tomorrow. That's going to stay down to the south of us. We're going to have just general rain coming in. I don't even think we'll see as much rain tomorrow as we saw on Monday. There may be some pockets of moderate rain in association with this system, but nothing too heavy, nothing too strong, but just kind of nuisance rain off and on throughout the day. This is our live camera from our tower cam over on Arizona Avenue, right on the DeKalb-Fulton County line, looking back toward the city of Atlanta. We have low clouds, we have some fog in areas, some mist and drizzle. You can't even see the skyline here. Normally we have a great view of the skyline. You can see the skyline in this closer up and lower shot that we have from our camera at Georgia Tech looking over Bobby Dodd Stadium. And you can see the buildings here, but the tops of the buildings are kind of shrouded by some of those lower clouds that we have out there right now. This is our view from our Decatur tower cam. Not much to see here, just the lights flashing there on the towers where we do have, at least thank goodness those lights are working because we need to see those towers out there. Our temperature today made it up to only 55 degrees and our low this morning was 51. That's only a 4-degree range in temperatures. We should be around 70 and 50 for the high and low. That's the average for this time of year. So we were 15 degrees below average here this afternoon. Now, we also have not had any rain today officially. Nothing measurable aside from some of that mist and drizzle. But our rainfall deficit is now at about 5 inches below where we should be. Remember, we were much higher than that before we had the rain on Monday. So the deficit has been shrinking a little bit, but it's still not wiped out. And the drought is not going to be wiped out either, but hopefully this rain helped us out a little bit with that. There you can see those temperatures, 51 earlier at about 9 o'clock this morning, also overnight 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, went up to 52, back to 51, then held at 52 for numerous hours, and then just up to 54 for that high temperature this afternoon. So just that 4-degree range in those temperatures. Right now, we're seeing temperatures at 51 here in the city. We have some pretty uniform temperatures, lower 50s, upper 40s around. The reason we don't have a wide range in temperatures is because the moisture content in the air, the dew points are higher. So the temperatures aren't going to fall below that dew point. So that's why we have some fog around in some areas with the air pretty much saturated in some spots. Now tomorrow, we're going to start off around 49 and then move up to only 55 in the afternoon. So another day with a very small range in temperatures. And look at these rain chances, about 90% from lunchtime through the afternoon before that starts going down later in the day. Here's the forecast track. You can see what we're talking about with the progression of this rain out to the west. It's going to start moving in some overnight by tomorrow morning. Generally, I-20 northward is going to have the better chance and better coverage of rain early in the morning. Not as many showers south of that. But then through the day, we'll see more of these scattered showers pretty much moving through, off and on rain, mainly light, some pockets of moderate rain at times. This is at noontime. And then once we get to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, this main rain shield will be pushing over to the east of us, but it's still not going to be totally over. We'll still have some spotty showers here left over on the backside of the system moving through. And even on Thursday, a good coverage of clouds, mostly cloudy skies during the day, and just a couple of spotty showers. You see here the rain coverage is not that impressive at all, but we're just going to hold on to a couple of those spotty showers around before later in the day that moves out and we will see clearing skies late on Thursday. That sets the stage for a much nicer into the week and also heading into the weekend. Friday is Halloween. By the time the kids are headed out to go trick-or-treating later on Friday. Now, highs on Friday are going to be in the lower 60s. By the time the kids are heading out around sunset or before sunset, and maybe a little bit after when it starts getting dark, we are going to see those temperatures falling into the 50s. So it is going to be cool for those trick-or-treaters. There's the rain chance, 90% Wednesday, 30% Thursday, but then dry just in time for the end of the week and the weekend. Here's a look at the rainfall potential during the day tomorrow. Maybe about a ½ inch on average. North of I-20, maybe a little bit more rain, and then not as much rain there on the south side. And take a look at these low temperatures, cooling back to the lower 40s here for Friday and Saturday. Sunday in the lower 40s for those morning temperatures, and then afternoons start warming up. We're going to be heading more in the right direction. If you're tired of this really chilly air that we've had around and below average temperatures, there's that average high 71. Well, we're going to be at 55 Wednesday, 57 on Thursday, lower 60s Friday, and then back to the mid 60s on Saturday and Sunday. So even though those mid 60s are going to be feeling warmer out there, that's still about 5 to 6 degrees below where we should be for this time of year. So here's that 7-day forecast and how everything's going to be timing out there with those chilly temperatures Wednesday and Thursday still. The highest chance for rain is on Wednesday. Then it comes down on Thursday. Thursday is really going to be kind of that transition day where we see the clouds trying to break up, just those little spotty showers that'll be leaving. Then Friday, the payoff. Mostly sunny, chilly in the morning at 42, then up to 61 in the afternoon. Back to 42 Saturday with a high of 65. 65 again on Sunday. Maybe a couple of more clouds mixing in on Sunday. The models are not in agreement on Monday. Right now we're including a 20% chance for a shower And then if that even happens, it'll move out on Tuesday with partly cloudy skies and high temperatures right around 67 degrees. So improving weather just in time for the end of the week and also for the weekend. Thanks for joining us for this extended weather update here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. We'll have another update for you coming up tonight at 11 o'clock here on 11 Alive Plus, and then of course updates throughout the day tomorrow. Chess will be with you early tomorrow morning for the Take 2, the Take also at 9 o'clock. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again tonight at 11.